Nothing Personal starts in 30 seconds. It's just business. This is Nothing Personal.
Here you go.
Mileage. That's the Nothing Personal word of the day. It is Tuesday, March 11th, 2025. Mileage. Aaron Boone gave it to you straight yesterday. The manager of the New York Yankees, while trying to deal with the fallout from Gerrit Cole announcing that he will be out for the season, having elected to get Tommy John surgery because his UCL is torn. We gave it to you yesterday. We had to wait to see that Cole will miss the entire season, and he is. He went to LA. He met with the world famous Dr. Elatrage. He did a bunch of Tommy Johns on players of mine. He's good. He'll look at the MRI, and when you go see him in LA, you bring a bag, because the way a bag of money, but also a bag of clothes. You go to the doctor, you look at the MRI, talks to you, touches your elbow, and says, okay, surgery tomorrow. We always would tell our players, you better bring a change of undies because you're going to be there. You're going to stay there. Sort of how it works. Cole went there hoping for the best, but knowing. When you go see Neil, that's his first name, you have a pretty good understanding that he's not going to say to you, you're good. Get a PRP. It'll all work out. Yankee fans were prepared for this. Brian Cashman was prepared for this. Aaron Boone was prepared for this. Now, the quotes they gave and the way they want to do it is exactly what we told you they would do. Aaron Boone was very clear. He said, you understand, especially the mileage, word of the day, he has on and what he went through last year. There's always that risk. What he really means to say is that every pitcher has risk of Tommy John. Gerrit Cole has been a workhorse, starting 96 games over 3 years prior to last year when he missed the first 75 games of the season, but pitched through October. Throwing close to 200 innings, acting as a throwback pitcher. As a throwback executive, I went into every season hoping for 30-plus starts and 200 innings from our starting pitchers 1 through 4, because that's what you need to be good. If you're getting that much work, you're going that many innings, you are winning games. When you are 5 and diving it, when you are being knocked out in the 3rd inning, yes, it's true, your arm catches a break, but it's also true that your team is likely going to stink. The minute you take out a pitcher from spring training, he gets the MRI. You don't do it publicly. You don't make the announcements. You talk about second opinions. You talk about, hey, we're hoping for the best, preparing for the worst. You know from the first image whether there is a tear in the ulnar collateral ligament. The call I would get is, hey, it's torn. It's Tommy John, but we're going to go get a second opinion just to make sure. The number of times that our second opinion doctor made it so it's what we wanted to hear, that, oh, we got it wrong, everything's fine, the first image was wrong, the MRI machine was broken, it's not really torn. The number of times that happened to me, 0. Never. Gerrit Cole did what he's supposed to do. He posted an Instagram story telling you how badly he wants to come back. He's going to be better than ever. He said he went to the most respected medical experts in the field and they recommended Tommy John surgery. A necessary next step, he called it. He wanted you to know that he's going to be rooting for the 2025 New York Yankees. He also wanted you to know that he's got plans. He's got plans to be back and be better than ever. Here's the problem with Tommy John. While it's become way more likely to come back and be good after one Tommy John versus two, this is Cole's first. The reality is we go into a pitcher getting Tommy John with complete uncertainty. We don't know if the stuff will be better. We don't know if the stuff will be the same. All we know is that every time we throw a pitcher who's had Tommy John, we worry that it's going to snap again. We also worry every time any pitcher throws a pitch that it's going to snap. It is part of the DNA of a baseball executive that you are aware. It's like when we had a player who we knew was tissue tough, meaning they get soft tissue injuries all the time. When they're going first to third or they're running out of close play at first, we're worried about the hamstring. It's a constant state of worry. It's why you meet with your baseball people after every game, the next day before every game. You're looking at your roster. You're thinking about what you're going to be doing. You're thinking about the depth that you've created. It's why you need a system, minor league. It's why you need a bunch of veteran non-roster invites who are willing to go to AAA if they don't make the team out of spring. It's why you don't release Marcus Stroman as much as you want to, because you could wake up and he could all of a sudden be your third starter. All of the Yankee fans who are crushing Brian Cashman, how could you not be trading for Sandy Alcantara right now? How could you not have let Gerrit Cole walk away when he opted out of his deal? I understand your emotion. I understand your concern, but you are in la-la land. They weren't going to let Gerrit Cole walk away once he canceled his opt-out because he was worried he was hurt. You hang in and hope to God he can get through another season. And then you worry about the season after that when you've got a pitcher signed long-term. From a cash standpoint, the CFO of the Yankees, the president of the Yankees, sits with Brian Cashman, not Aaron Boone, with Brian Cashman, and they talk through, okay, where are we in terms of ability to replace Gerrit Cole? What is our ability to take on money given our current day payroll? The ability to take on money has two components. One, is there money in the budget that you did to replace injured players or to bring on players at the deadline? Did you leave payroll room? Number two, is there any amount of money that you're going to get refunded from the Gerrit Cole injury? Many of you asked yesterday at davidsamsonpodcast.com or on Twitter at David P. Samson were asking me about insurance. Teams that take out insurance policies on long-term deals, it is a huge premium that you have to pay, and it's really hard to get any money out of an insurance company for most injuries. When a player is going to miss a full season, you will get paid on your insurance policy. It's very rare that you insure the entirety of the contract. But also, the payment from the insurance company only comes after the player has missed a period of games. It doesn't come when he goes under the knife for surgery. He's got to miss a certain number of games. Then you start getting paid based on insurance. So there will be cash coming into the Yankees if they had Gerrit Cole's money and contract insured. However, when it comes to luxury tax and competitive balance tax, when a player is on the injured list, that contract still counts toward your CBT payroll, calculating whether you hit the Steve Cohen threshold or go above it or where you are in the different levers of the tax. For them to trade for Sandy right now, who's making $17 million a year from the Marlins, you bring in 17, you're adding that full 17 to your payroll because the season hasn't started yet. The players haven't gotten paid yet. And so for the Yankees, you're not just trading for a $17 million player because you have to pay more than the 17 because they're already above the lowest tax threshold. So it can be financially prohibitive for the Yankees to make a trade right now. And on top of that, if the Marlins or any other team is smart, they are holding up the Yankees to get an unequal trade, to win the trade. And the Yankees are going to come out and do exactly what we said they were going to do. And they're going to say that everything's going to be fine. We lost Heel, we lost Cole, we have Stanton hurt, we have LeMahieu hurt, but don't worry, we're going to be fine. Because replacing players who get hurt in spring training during spring training is a big mistake financially. One of the issues that you have when you're putting your team together during the offseason is you tend to get your baseball people together. You do offsite meetings. Sometimes you do it in your spring training facility, sometimes in your home ballpark, sometimes you go offsite, and you get everyone together and you go through what your depth chart is. You pencil your rotation in, your lineup, your bench, your bullpen. You set it all up. But then you've got another board that sets up what your depth pieces are, what your financial abilities are in terms of adding to the team. So, for example, we've gone into offseason meetings where you have your top 3 starters, and then we put a number in the 4-5 hole. So your 4th starter, we're allocating $12 million. Our 5th starter, we're allocating $6 million. And so we know we have $18 million that we can add because that's part of the original payroll that we've budgeted with our CFO, president, and owner. Then you get to spring training, and then it starts collapsing. The Seattle Mariners are in a position where they have a rotation that has been absolutely lauded. Best rotation in the game. George Kirby is a first-time arbitration-eligible receiver. He's making about $4.3 million, 1/5 of a great, healthy rotation. The Mariners, who got sullied by Justin Turner on his way out the door in a topic that we covered earlier, either this week or last week. Earlier this week would only be yesterday, so I assume it was last week. When we talked about that Justin Turner was saying, I can't believe they never added a bat. I can't believe they didn't try to match the offense with this great pitching staff. I guess they just have no money and don't blame Jerry. Remember those Justin Turner comments? George Kirby is going to be put on the injured list. It will be the first time in his career that he will be put on the injured list. And the team announced that he's shut down with what they're calling shoulder inflammation. When we tell you that a player has shoulder inflammation, what we're really saying is, my God, there's a chance that we're totally screwed. There's a chance that he's got some labrum issues. There's a chance that it's actually going to leak down to the elbow. There's a chance that he is going to miss significant time. If you've got a structural shoulder injury, it's worse than a torn UCL. If you ask baseball players and executives, and you are now, I can tell you that we're far more afraid and reticent to announce shoulder inflammation than we are to announce elbow inflammation or forearm inflammation or knee inflammation. Which is why the GM of the Mariners, Justin Hollander, came out and wanted to be very clear. Very, very interesting that he said this. We did an MRI and the MRI looks great. That's when he lost me. If you've ever looked at an MRI, you never come out of an MRI and say, ooh, that looks great. Because there's a reason for an MRI, and in this case, the reason is inflammation. The MRI is going to reflect that which you thought could be the problem, but it doesn't look great. It looks like the problem that we're putting him on the injured list for. But anyway, I don't want to quibble over the language. I do want to add that Justin Hollander said no structural concerns whatsoever. And I will repeat that. 0 structural concerns. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the reason why I never said those words is because there's never been an MRI I've ever seen. There's never been a picture I've ever had where we had 0 structural concerns. What an interesting phrase to use if you're the GM of a team. Why would you use that? Are you talking to the other GMs? Yes. Are you talking to the fans? Why? Does it matter when you're a fan of the Mariners and you read 0 structural concerns, few? He'll only miss the shortest 10 days. We'll give him a little. We never discovered the word coca. What was the name of the drug that got disallowed in baseball? Can someone help me, please, at David P. Samson, anywhere you can find me? I got to call our team doctor. I can't believe it didn't come to me like in the middle of the night. It was some sort of steroid pack, not the PED kind, that was disallowed because it was killing people. It was so bad for them. And it's what we would give to a player. Oh, you have a toenail issue? Here, it's a C-pack. I want to call it a C-pack, but that may be the thing that you use when you snore. In any case, the reason why we don't tell you there's 0 structural concerns is we always have concerns about the structure of a shoulder or an elbow. If you are a Major League Baseball player, you will never, ever have a clean MRI that looks great. There's wear and tear on the people you draft out of high school. Forget people who have been in the big leagues. Every MRI has junk in it. Find me a pitcher. Ask anyone you know and say, hey, how does your MRI look when you get it? Do you have 0 structural concerns? What they were trying to tell you in Seattle is that his injury is going to be considered week to week and not month to month. Forget day to day. You don't get shoulder inflammation, though sometimes we announce it, but it's not really true. If we don't want to put a player immediately on the injured list because we really don't need to call anyone up at that moment because the starting pitcher is not due to start for 4 days, or we like who's starting over the next 4 days and we think our bullpen's going to be okay, so we'll carry a guy before putting him on the IL, because when you put a player on the IL, you have to add an additional player to your team, and therefore you are increasing your budget, your payroll. So we would never tell you anything other than, yeah, he's going on the IL. That means it's week to week. We didn't really learn anything about those statements, did we, about George Kirby? I feel badly for the Mariners because they're heading into a season. It's the year Ichiro's going to throw out the first pitch opening day. Ichiro's going into the Hall of Fame. The Mariners' rotation cannot even repeat what it did last year. Definitionally, it cannot because Kirby's already on the IL. But I have a bit of Rachmanis for them because I want them to succeed, because pitching to me is what wins. And it just has not proven to be the case for Seattle. We'll watch and we'll pay attention to what happens to Kirby. But I can tell you right now that it will be more than only one minimum time on the injured list. You do not have shoulder inflammation and get added back after the 15 days, the 10 days. Can't remember the rules. There's a 7-day, a 10-day, a 15-day. It'll be more than 15 days. The other thing they did with Kirby is they wanted to let us know that he would like to have pitched. He didn't necessarily want to go on the injured list, and that he's got this sort of bulldog mentality. We would spend, man, oh man, meetings with agents, players, talking about we're trying to protect them. We don't want them to play through certain injuries. If you've got a shoulder problem, then it can impact your mechanics, which can impact your lower body, which can lead to lower body injuries. It can lead to elbow issues if you change your mechanics in order to compensate. Even a weekend amateur athlete knows that when you play hurt, you are risking other parts of your body. We have control over the player and when the player can play. Now, we work with the player. You need the player to sign off when a player goes on the injured list. You can't just put a player on the injured list. It is done in cooperation with the player. I've never had the case where a player would not agree to be put on the injured list because we wouldn't abuse the injured list and we'd only put players on it who were injured. We didn't have the type of money where we could screw around like that. But one of the things that we use the injured list for is to protect the player from himself. And so if we have a player who's got a little pull, a little wince with a hamstring, sometimes we'll shut the player down when the player doesn't want to be shut down. But it differs according to where the player is in his service time with you. Is he about to be arbitration eligible? Is he about to be a free agent? Is he in the middle of a long-term deal? So we work to understand, which we know in advance, of course, is where the player is on the food chain of money. And that helps inform what we do with the player. If you're the Mariners and you've got Kirby for a second, a third, and a fourth year of arbitration before he's a free agent, you want to make sure that he is not getting ahead of himself and that he can come back and be healthy. It's going to be interesting. Speaking of our wait to sees, I want to quickly point out something that happened. We had a wait to see yesterday that Gerrit Cole would miss the entire season. That's a yes. We had a wait to see 6 days ago about the Sacramento Aths. I am shocked that the Athletics did not release a statement by Monday about their $19.01 season ticket deposits. It was surprising to me because I thought that they'd get a ton of people to give $19. And if they didn't get a ton of people, they'd pretend they had a ton of people so they could have a really fun announcement that wasn't about a jersey patch. It wasn't about anything other than look at how excited Vegas is for this team. The Athletics did not announce anything. We don't know the number of $19.01 deposits they got. The ones that are non-refundable, the ones that in the fine print say, we can't guarantee that you'll get seats or where you'll be on the priority list. Can't imagine why they couldn't find a bunch of $19 people. Can't imagine how despondent they are and silly they are not to have announced something. The whole point of PR is that it doesn't have to be true. It has to sound good and feel good and look good. Do we have any way to audit it? What would we have said if the A's had sent out a press release? The interest in Vegas is staggering. We signed up. Remember what the Coca, go back. You don't have to do it right now. You're busy. Do you remember the hockey team in Utah when they moved from Phoenix? And Ryan Smith, the owner of the Utah Hockey Club, kept announcing how many people had been signing up for season tickets. Like every other day, there'd be some sort of announcement. There's another $5,000. How could the Aths have missed this opportunity to tell us, with their fingers and toes crossed, how great everything is? Pretty shocking to me. But that's a wait to see that I lost. How about the Dodgers? Can't go a day without talking about the Dodgers and who they're signing. They did it again. They said, Craig Counsell, you got $8 million to manage the Cubs. You got a 5-year, $40 million deal. Guess what, Dave? We've got a surprise for you. Now, you may think we have an endless supply of cash. You may think that we're signing players to billion-dollar contracts and we're deferring billions of dollars, and our payroll is so high that we can't even see the second-place Mets from here. And we are so proud of you, Dave, for winning 8 out of 9 National League West titles and 2 World Series, that we're going to make you the highest paid manager ever. Dave Roberts walks into his meeting with Andrew Friedman, and he's thinking, tell me everything. What are you going to do for me? And the Dodgers say, for you, Dave, your average annual value of your contract, wait for it, Dave. Just relax. Don't call home yet. Don't call your agent yet. It's going to be exciting. Here we go. 8.1. I'm sorry. This stinks not having a studio audience. Is anyone else smiling with me? Anybody out there? Craig Counsell's at 8. Dave Roberts, the most successful manager, who everyone's calling for his head if they have an early playoff loss, having an unbelievable run with the Dodgers. And he got rewarded with a $32.4 million 4-year deal. Yes, for those of you counting at home, that is 8.1. I'm laughing because what's Roberts going to do? Turn it down? Would it have killed the Dodgers? They've ruined the market anyway. When they gave Andrew Friedman $10 million a year, they ruined the GM market for other teams. What's the difference? You got to keep your manager below your general manager, so we knew he wasn't going to get to 10. But 8.1, and Dave Roberts happens to have a great agent. So this was not a matter of bad agenting. This wasn't a matter of bad negotiating. This was a matter of the Dodgers looking at Dave and saying, all right, fine, we'll do it. The Dodgers also have a depth issue. They have so much of it that their cup runneth over. Clayton Kershaw, who has been, I just saw a list, Coca. Clayton Kershaw has been in the organization of the Dodgers, I want to say for 18 years. But I may have the number wrong, but that's my recollection, and that is the longest of any player in any one organization. Maybe tied with Salvador Perez, Coca. I don't know if you saw this list somewhere. He's been in the Royals organization forever as well. Clayton Kershaw went on the great podcast, if you don't listen to it, Foul Territory. It's a good one. And he said that he's hoping to be back in June. This is the MO now for Clayton Kershaw. He comes back in the middle of the season. He pitches for a while. And it's year 19 in the organization for Kershaw. So I think that may be the lead, Coca. I think Salvador Perez then is 18. And that's why Kershaw, I think, is at the top of that list. But in any case, when you've got a player who is reminding me more and more of Udonis Haslem, someone who is an organizational staple, someone who will eventually have the jersey in the rafter, someone who is really associated with your organization and their success, the rules don't apply. You're going to keep signing Clayton Kershaw now. He's never going to go to Texas, where he's rumored to go because he's from there. He is going to keep signing one-year deals with the Dodgers until he decides that he's had enough. It is a position that you don't give easily to players. It requires a certain type of Hall of Famer, a certain type of player in your organization. And make no mistake, Clayton Kershaw has earned this. But please do not in any way get in your head, if you are a Dodgers fan, that Clayton Kershaw will be in any way a factor in your defending your World Series championship. As a matter of fact, I find it to be hard to imagine that he will even start a postseason game, maybe even appear on a postseason roster, assuming that they have health. If they don't have health, like they didn't last year, people forget it's only 5 months ago. October of 24. November, December, January, February, March. About 5.5 months ago. Any recollection of who the Dodgers rotation was in the World Series? I don't know if you have any recollection, but if you do, you'll note that their top pitchers did not appear. If that happens again, there is a chance Kershaw would get some innings, but I highly doubt it. But congratulations to Clayton. Come back in June. People will cheer you, applaud you, standing ovation. But you're on like the third level of whiteboard as they do their depth. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to review a movie that was nominated for an Oscar, and it was really good. And then we're going to talk about what's going on in football. There was a quarterback carousel that happened yesterday that, not at the Josh Allen level, but at the tier well below Josh Allen, and we're going to talk all about it after the break. Welcome back to Nothing Personal. It is David Samson and Matthew Coca. We're posting. We're here. I'm a little under the weather, Coca. Do you know that little backache you get when you know that, I think I'm about to get sick, and you're sneezing and sniffling? So excuse the voice. Did the throat spray, did the hot tea before the show with honey, special grandmother recipe. Happy birthday, Dan Ugla. It's both my brother's birthday and Dan Ugla's birthday today. His name is Dan Ugla. Love you, buddy. Happy birthday. I watched a movie before the Oscars. I'm still reviewing Oscar movies. This is a movie that only a small percentage of you will watch, not because it's on Mubi, M-U-B-I, but also because you could rent it on Prime. But it takes place in Copenhagen in the 1920s. It is a movie with subtitles, but The Girl with the Needle is about a woman who gets impregnated by her overlord, by her boss. She works at a terrible job, terrible poverty, has some sort of relationship, gets pregnant, can't have the baby, wants to give it up for adoption, gives it up for adoption, and then works for the adoption agency and discovers that the adoption agency may be the definition of hell. It is a movie that will move you. It's a movie that'll make you think. It's a movie that I'm super happy that I watched. It is not a feel-good movie. It is not a movie that you watch on a first date. It's not a movie that you watch when you are baked, but it is a movie that I encourage you to watch because the performances are powerful. The story matters. It's called The Girl with the Needle. Coke and I have a very funny relationship. Anytime you work with a producer for as long as we've worked together, and this is our 1,232nd episode together, I can count on one hand the number of those episodes Coke has missed. I would assume it's Coke. How many episodes do you think you've missed over the 5.5 years? I'm going to guess 3. And that's because you didn't want to, but had some sort of wedding that you had to attend to, even though you don't want to go, but then you did go, and then you were upset that you went. Coca posts every day, just like we do. This show is available Monday to Friday, 8 to 8:50, and then again on DraftKings Network at 10. Go to our YouTube channel. You can watch Blazer of the Day, or you can listen wherever you get your podcasts. And a little insight into the show, as you all know, with the mistakes I make and the words I can't think of and the corrections that are needed. We're a linear show, which means we're not edited. This is it. This is the show live. We have no prompter. We have nothing but a rundown. And every day, and then every night, and then every morning, Coke and I talk. Frankly, I talk to Coke more than I talk to any of my kids or friends. And we get into some arguments because that's what family does. And Coke is my family. We had one this morning, and I would like your opinion. Can we all agree that when the Las Vegas Raiders traded a second-round pick to the Seahawks to get Geno Smith, and then Sam Darnold signs a 3-year contract with the Seahawks, and then the Jets signed Justin Fields to a 2-year contract, and then Aaron Rodgers is rumored to be signing with the Steelers, can't wait to talk about that, or the Giants, or the Vikings? Can we all agree that the Raiders preferred Geno Smith? That was their first choice given the available quarterback options after they may or may not have gotten exactly what they wanted, which Tom Brady made pretty clear that he would have preferred to trade for Matthew Stafford. But how can you argue against that? Pete Carroll is comfortable with Geno Smith, They were in the quarterback room together with the Seahawks, and they're reunited, and it feels so good. But does that mean that Geno Smith is the best quarterback of all the available quarterbacks because that's what Tom Brady chose to do and gave up a second rounder to do it? Or the other side? Do you believe that by trading a second rounder for Geno Smith, it gives the Raiders the ultimate flexibility because he's got 1 year left, let him play for a year, and then jettison him if the Raiders are as bad as you would expect them to be, because that's how it's been. I was in one camp, very simple camp. Tom Brady made the decision with Pete Carroll that Geno Smith was their top choice. And I was surprised by that. I was surprised that the going rate for Geno Smith would be a second rounder. And I will be shocked to the point of night sweats if the Raiders announce a contract extension for Geno Smith, which would completely defeat the purpose of having flexibility to try to find your cornerstone quarterback of the future. Because in football, what we've learned, it's really hard to win with a very expensive quarterback. You need to do well with your quarterback on either a rookie deal or Jaden Daniels, or you get a middling quarterback like lightning in a bottle with Sam Darnold at 1 year, $14 million. And then he gives the Vikings or whatever he made last year. And then he gets the Vikings to 14-3, didn't win a playoff game, but was in position where it could have happened. These teams seem to be in one camp or the other. It used to be that paying a quarterback $40 million a year meant that he was the best. Now it means like Matthew Stafford, at $40 million is like the 15th highest paid quarterback. Think about that. And you think that the Seahawks giving Sam Darnold $55 million guaranteed, that they're somehow committed to Sam Darnold? No, they're thinking, all right, trade Geno Smith, try the next guy. It's not like the Seahawks have been winning Super Bowls. We'll bring in Sam Darnold. We got to pay a little more than the Vikings did. We'll guarantee him $55 million, give him a 3-year deal, and we'll pretend he's Baker Mayfield. If Baker Mayfield works out, which he did, get another deal. If Sam Darnold works out, we'll get him another deal. But if not, see you later. The New York Jets under Woody Johnson. It's going to be the same situation. There's no way Woody Johnson's going to say, this is the best team we've had in 25 years. Can't wait to watch this team play. Justin Fields was barely a risk that the Jets are taking. Justin Fields was a backup to Russell Wilson. He'd come in on some third downs and do the option, but generally a backup. Now the Jets are moving away from Rodgers, have a tremendous amount of dead cap to deal with. So when you think about the money they've got in order to sign a quarterback, who exactly thought that they'd be able to sign even at the level of Sam Darnold or trade for Geno Smith? The Jets under new coach Aaron Glenn are totally financially constricted by the deal they did with Aaron Rodgers. The gift that keeps on giving if you're a Jets fan. Justin Fields, they gave him a $15 million signing bonus. That's great. But his base salary is only $5 million guaranteed. They guaranteed him $10 million in 26. They did a bunch of those secret super salary cap avoidance ridiculousness by having voidable years later in the deal, and they do all this stuff. Roger Goodell has got to put an end to that in the next CBA. It is ridiculous. It's sort of like paying people to figure out how to lower, lessen, and eliminate your taxes. I guess it happens that way because there's an IRS code that you have to fully take advantage of, get the deductions you can, figure out ways to game the system. But when you're not a bureaucracy, you should be able to do better. As a league, when you see what teams are doing in order to avoid the very thing that you've put in place to stop teams from doing that which they're doing, you got to make changes. All of that said, with the quarterback movement from yesterday. Coca, can you find for me, while I talk about Aaron Rodgers, are the Raiders, the Seahawks, and the Jets, who's got the best odds to win the Super Bowl or the highest over-under in total wins next season? Raiders get Smith. The Seahawks get Darnold. The Jets get Fields. Did anyone get better with that quarterback carousel spinning? Or is it one of those examples that they're on a merry-go-round, and when you're on a merry-go-round, you never change planes? And don't talk to me about horses that go up and down as the merry-go-round goes round and round. When I talk about changing planes, I'm talking roller coaster. When you're going for something and you've got a chance to get right to the top before, of course, you crash down. The Aaron Rodgers situation is a little different to me, though. The rumors we're hearing about Aaron Rodgers, almost hard to believe. He's going to sign with the Steelers. He's going to sign with the Giants. He's going to follow Favre, and he's going to sign with the Vikings. Are you thinking that you're getting Aaron Rodgers from the final game against the Dolphins last year? Are you thinking that you're going to get Aaron Rodgers at a deal like Justin Fields? Do you think you'll have to give Aaron Rodgers a Sam Darnold deal? What about a Josh Allen deal? Think you'll have to give him $55 million a year AAV? Guarantee another $100 million to Aaron Rodgers? I understand that the Pittsburgh Steelers have great regular season success. I understand that Mike Tomlin hasn't finished below 500 since I was a little boy. I understand that Aaron Rodgers used to be an MVP quarterback. There is no way that a team wants to sign up for the mediocrity that you will get when you sign Aaron Rodgers. Unless, of course, it's a team that already wallows in mediocrity. It's almost like a perfect fit for the New York Giants and the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's almost perfect. Why isn't it perfect? And why do I think it's not going to happen? Because I believe there's going to be a large difference in value opinion between Aaron Rodgers and any team. I don't believe that the Steelers will be convinced, no matter how silly they can be, that Aaron Rodgers is the type of upgrade over the Russell Wilson / Justin Fields combo that will make it possible to do a deal with Aaron. I don't believe that the Giants have any illusions, no matter how crazy their owner can be, that they are an Aaron Rodgers away from winning and competing. Forget the NFC East. I'm talking about even on a game-by-game basis. What does it all mean? It means there's only one guarantee that I'll make, and that is my faith in the Steelers to not consign themselves to mediocrity, where the other teams seem to be way more willing to do that. So I'm going to do a wait to see on Aaron Rodgers. It's official, Coca. Wait to see. Aaron Rodgers will not be a Pittsburgh Steeler. I want to bring you back to 2001 now. I want to bring you back to the Mitchell Report. If you're a 35% of our audience, you have some memory of 2001, 24 years ago. The Mitchell Report was a report that was released my first or second year in baseball, and it mentioned all sorts of player names who had used performance-enhancing drugs, human growth hormone, all the different things that players were using back then, that we knew players were using back then, but we were negotiating with the union to figure out how to get some sort of drug policy in place. And so everyone agreed, let's see how big a problem it is. We got 4 of the brightest minds together, including Senator Mitchell. You write a report. Query, did they write it? No, but you put your name on a report. You mention a bunch of names, and those people mentioned in the report can't get in trouble because there was no testing at that time. One of the players whose names appeared in the report was Mo Vaughn. Mo Vaughn, if you don't remember him, played for the Mets and Angels and Red Sox. Successful career. He had over 300 home runs. He was a force at the plate. Out of nowhere, he did an interview with The Athletic, and he admitted that he used human growth hormone. And he said he did it in an effort to extend his career. He had never once confirmed what was in the Mitchell report. He had never done anything other than what every other player other than Andy Pettitte had done, which is to say, no, that's not right. Here's the problem. The Mitchell report was dead on. Testing works. The best you can do now that there's official testing is you can mask it. You can try to work with people who can put you on cycles where you're not going to test positive, even though we've got random testing that happens throughout the course of the year. But before testing, the reason that we knew all these players were using PEDs is because as an organization, we were not despondent about it because we knew that the PEDs were used to get players healthier, faster, get back on the field. We had reckless indifference toward what it would do to future players' health, both mental or physical. We were solely focused on, we don't want to pay you not to perform. Mo Vaughn said to The Athletic, I was trying to do everything I could. I knew I had a bad degenerative knee. I was shooting HGH in my knee, whatever I could do to help the process. Now, as an executive, I did not in any way touch a needle. I didn't watch any players use needles. I never, ever did anything other than, and I look back at it with a modicum of regret, just a modicum. What we did in the front office is we put our heads in the sand. Was it right? Probably not. Are we a better sport now? Are we a better example to kids saying we won't reward you for steroid use? Yes. But here's the thing. Steroid use is still happening. It happens in the Dominican. It happens in the big leagues. It happens in every sport. It happened in hockey yesterday. The reigning Stanley Cup champions have lost one of their best players, Aaron Ekblad. They just suspended him 20 games. He failed a test. Why? He's trying to come back from an injury. You do whatever you can do, and you hope you don't get caught. The Mitchell report was the beginning of putting players on notice, but here we are a quarter of a century later, and things aren't changing because players want to play. It's how they get paid. Teams want players to play. That's how you win. Nothing personal pick of the day. The Lakers were favored by 6 over the Nets in Brooklyn. I guess I should have realized that Luka and Austin Reeves would shoot 11 for 40. I guess I should pay more attention to the fact that Luka, in his battle of inefficiency, when I told you it was Luka's team, I may have gotten that wrong. It may be Luka's team, but the Lakers and the irrational exuberance we've had over them being an unstoppable force, winning 16 out of 20 games, being the number 2 seed. I assume they're below the number 2 seed by now. I assume Denver's past them, having beaten the Thunder last night, which should have been our pick of the day because there's no way the Thunder are going to win a home back-to-back games over Jokic and the Nuggets. But we went with the Lakers and we lost. At 19-27, we're going to try an underdog tonight, and I can't imagine why you'd be upset other than all my Milwaukee fans. We're taking the Pacers +3. You're welcome, Milwaukee. The Pacers got crushed yesterday. Rick Carlisle, their coach, did one of those, hey, we're losing, you all stink, we're benching all of you. He benched half the starters at halftime after they were down 19. I think the Pacers can rebound. I really do. Pacers +3 over the Bucks. As we head into today's news cycle and into tomorrow, be on the lookout for what Yankees brass will be saying publicly about Cole. Be on the lookout for what you're going to hear about trade rumors for the Yankees, because every radio show, every podcast, they're going to give you mock trades. They're going to tell you what the Yankees should be doing. Be on the lookout for it, because listening to Nothing Personal, you know better. You know that Brian Cashman is not going to make a knee-jerk reaction. So don't be one of the people that hops on the knee-jerk reaction bandwagon. And the reason you shouldn't is by listening to 1,232 episodes of Nothing Personal. You know it's just business. This is Nothing Personal.